Another new technology we wanted to talk about a bit was virtual reality. I saw from the audience most of you have already seen it, but I think it's really going to start taking off, or at least the buzz will continue to take off, because in the last couple of months, the Oculus Rift became available, the HTC system became available, Sony's PlayStation VR will be out in the fall. So let's start with Lori. What is the potential opportunity in entertainment for virtual reality?
I think it's immense. For storytelling, it's immense. We get to now take people into a world, and into a world that they may not ever experienced. We were talking last year about doing a moonshot where we were going to take HD cameras up on the back of a rocket into the moon and go put it on a rover and have it walk in the footsteps of the men who were there and see, were the flags still there with color, or was it white? Were they white? And when we were talking about it, we thought, this is a great virtual reality. Can we film it in a way that we can make a VR experience out of this? Can you imagine walking in the footsteps of? And so I think for producers, the application and the storytelling possibilities are immense. I think there are going to be smarter people than me that figure out how to do it in a way that becomes a multiple audience experience as opposed to a singular. Last Christmas, I knew that I needed to do something, or maybe it was 2 Christmases ago, because my brother, the day after Christmas, was sitting for 2 hours on the couch like this, and he was like, "Wow!" And I was like locked out, and he was just doing this, and I thought, okay, because my brother's always like into the future and gaming, and I thought, all right, this is something, and I'd love for us to figure out as a community how we do it in a community experience, how we experience that kind of a story in a community experience. And I think that's the challenge that we as producers and storytellers could look to.
Okay. And Technicolor already has started a virtual reality effort. Sherri, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so Technicolor strongly believes that virtual reality and augmented reality is the future. A little bit, everybody's like, well, what's the difference between 3D and you know, how is it different? I think that right now virtual reality is somewhat of a linear experience, an individual experience, and what do we need to be doing as a creative community to expand that experience so that when we're having a conversation here, we could have our headsets on, but I turn to Dana, and I think what it's really going to come down to is how do we affect the lights? What's the lighting going to be? Because right now, again, it would be very flat. It would be all the same. So from a post perspective, from Technicolor's perspective, what do we need to develop? What tool needs to be developed so that it does become a little more interactive and not so linear and flat, I think is the best way to describe it. And then taking it one step further, augmented reality, and really, you know, all of a sudden it becomes much more interactive with the rest of the audience. Not only just visually, but acoustically as well. So sound, there's Atmos. You can see the speakers here now, but it's pinpointing those sounds so that it does become a very different experience than just what we're currently used to seeing and hearing today.
And since we don't have a quantifiable audience yet, since the headsets are still so new, what are you hearing right now as far as when there could be a way to monetize this content that's being created?
That is a great question, and I don't know that I know the answer to it. We're definitely in the virtual reality world right now. We're building a virtual reality lab, actually. And our visual effects companies are in it, but it's just, you know, we're working. We did a VR piece with The Martian. We've done Gatorade spots. We've done 4x6 spots, but not spots. Actually, they're longer than spots, but they're just pieces. And so I don't know right now today what that's going to look like.
Well, there is a massive amount of production in games, though. So the interactive games will be one of the big drivers of this format initially.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. gaming was really kind of the catalyst in which has started it all. But does it stay? I don't know. I had read somewhere that the gaming was starting to pull away from it. I don't know if it's true or not, not being a gamer myself. But it's really the visual effects community that's starting to embrace it.
I also think that the storyteller that comes up with a reason to wear the glasses, either in a group or singular experience, is what's going to push the audience. I think that when, if you look at what happened with 3D, everyone jumped into 3D and did everything 3D, and then the audience really decided for us what was an experience, a film and a story we needed to be there. And they didn't really go to the ones that were, oh, this is a nice thing, but it didn't really enhance the storytelling. So if we as producers can figure out a way to use VR in a way that enhances the story and that's integrated in the story, I think that's what will help push people to say, oh, you got to see whatever that is, whether it's short form or long form.
Actually, at E3 in a couple of weeks, I think we're going to see a lot of gaming
Gaming.
this year.
But certainly everyone's exploring narrative, as Lori talked about, and there's also some maybe non-traditional ways that your content could be used. Certainly on the documentary side, the Natural History Museum in London, for example, has a virtual reality experience where it's £6. It's in addition to your museum ticket, and about 30 people at a time go into the theater. Everyone has their own set of VR headsets, and you together watch roughly 15 minutes of an undersea documentary, and you're floating under the water, and the narrative is explaining what you're seeing and a little bit of background. And it's a very engaging way to learn some of these things in a museum setting. There's also talk about classrooms. So think beyond what you might be traditionally thinking about when it comes to virtual reality, because if this really takes off, there could be a lot of applications that we haven't even thought about yet.
Well, travel being one of them. Think
For
of,
sure.
if you can't afford to get on a plane and stay in a hotel, all of a sudden you can choose your destination, put your headset on, and it takes you to where you want to go. So definitely an application that's possible.